Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we're live. Can we change the title on the?
Oh, where?
It
On
says
what?
in our Arab culture. What is that?
Oh my god, wait. I'm sorry, I just changed it. Why did it come back? Okay, let me change it real quick.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're not live on Instagram yet. I didn't click go live. You didn't click go live, right?
I don't.
I'll do it on my end. I just didn't click it yet. So
No,
let
we're
me.
live. We are live. Hi, everybody. It's Wadih Wednesday. Welcome. We are getting set up. We like to start 5 minutes before so that we can get everything ready. For those that are joining, give us a few minutes. Welcome to Wadih Wednesday. And today we are going to talk about loneliness. And when you are a cycle breaker or you are trying to shift generational trauma, that what comes from that is a lot of loneliness. So hang in there. We're going to be starting in about 5 minutes and we're going to be getting ready. And so for those that are coming on and hopping on, we are live on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So we are very grateful for all the support. I don't know, Instagram, you guys have been really supporting the content and the platform and community for International Arab. We are so grateful for that. How many people are a part of our community on Instagram now?
On Instagram now we have 4,882 community members.
Isn't that amazing? Didn't we have like 1,000 in December? Or no?
Yeah, it's growing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have the greatest community ever.
We do. We have an awesome community. So welcome everybody. Let's see. Where is everyone coming in from? We love to see where our community members are. It would be great to see where everyone is coming in from. Now, we are trying to field comments as much as possible. So, hi, Ibrahim. Let's see. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi, everybody. Let's see. Veris is in the house. Samia, welcome. Hilda, welcome. Good to see you. All right, we've got everybody hopping on. So Mira and I are going to filter the comments as much as possible. Again, please be patient with our process. If we don't get to you, it doesn't mean that we're ignoring you. That may be something you want to look at for yourself. Can everyone hear me on TikTok? Can everyone hear me on TikTok? And somebody, because is this mic working? Is this mic working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go over some house rules before we get started. Oh, good. Thanks, Yanis. Thanks, Lucky Boy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Smile. Appreciate you. Thank you, Hilda. Thank you, everybody, for all your support. Kharto is still Gen Xer. You guys can do this computer stuff really fast. I'm learning. So, and my daughter sometimes she says, "Mommy, oops, hold on."
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Inti batata fish. So, all right, let's get started. I know, shuftu, ya Allah, shuftu, ya Allah. That's what happens. But when you're, oh, shuftu, I know, it's all right because sometimes things make a mistake, things happen, things fall apart. Wardrobe, yeah, exactly. Good. I'm glad. There you go. So, for those of you that got the thrill, there you go. Let's move on. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Mira, can you go over some of that, please?
Yeah, of course. So let me introduce myself real quick. Hi, everyone. I'm Mira. Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I work with Tiffany behind the scenes. I help her with the content and with the community. So I'll be here supporting during the live. So welcome, everyone. We're so glad to have you here. So I'm just going to let you know about a few important notes. We call them Yalla News. The first one is if you're seeking one-on-one coaching, please DM us. And that's because our website is currently undergoing updates. So please DM us and I'll personally send you Tiffany's email. Once you have the email, please share with her an email, send her an email, including your name, the country, a brief of the context of what you're seeking, and your available dates and times. Number two is during the live, take what applies to you, and what doesn't apply, let it fly. We always say, Tiffany always says, what doesn't apply, let it fly. So let's keep this community healing, kind, and free of any negativity. Number three, we have some exciting things coming up soon. So thank you for being patient with us during this process. It's not easy. We're pioneers in this, and it's not easy. It's taking time. So please be patient with us. And number four, please don't forget to check the link in bio for sometimes we have freebies, sometimes we have ebooks. We are going to have a few things coming up soon. So everything is always in the link in bio. So you have it there. And just a reminder, we don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. And yeah, that's all for Yella News for today.
Thank you, Mira. I really appreciate that. So those are some of the house agreements, and hopefully that resonates with you. If it doesn't, we'll encourage you just to hop off and go on to other platforms. So because we do delete any negative comments immediately. We are not playing with that with our community. We want everyone to feel as safe as possible, given a social media platform. All right, let's get started. It's 8:00. Welcome, everybody. My name is Tiffany Tota. I'm a marriage and family therapist, over 25 years of experience working in the field of emotional health and wellness. And I have a practice primarily working with individuals from our Middle Eastern communities and North African communities. And I have created Community for International Arab last year because of this topic in particular. So many individuals that I talk to have felt so alone in their healing journey. They may be the only person in their family or in their community, and this may be you, that you're breaking through generational trauma. You may be what's called the cycle breaker. Now, if that's you, this platform is here for you. Today's topic is the crux of why I started Community for International Arab, is because growing up in the 70s, moving into the 80s as a child of immigrant Palestinian parents, where we moved to San Francisco. Well, my parents moved to San Francisco. I had felt alone my whole life. There was no community, nobody for me to talk to. And if you're someone that has felt alone in your thoughts, or people are talking, you're at a family gathering and you're like, wait, why am I here? Like, I like this belonging, but I feel like I completely don't belong. Or sometimes you feel an imposter in these settings where you're smiling and you're waving and you're doing all the song and dance, yet within you, you feel like you cannot relate to anything that their mentality or their viewpoints. And when other members, they're discussing things and the way they see the world, you may feel like nothing resonates with you. Yet there's this huge part of you that wants to belong. Well, you're not alone. You may be your family's cycle breaker. Now, what does that mean? A cycle breaker is an individual that consciously recognizes and interrupts intergenerational patterns of dysfunction. So for you, it may be disrupting patterns of trauma, maladaptive coping within your family or cultural system. So it's moving from like you have awareness and you're tired of the autopilot. And so much of our community is on autopilot. They do what they need to do, right? They do what they need to do. Sorry, I got distracted. We have family members that aren't even aware or thinking about why they do certain things. They go, heck, ihna. This is what we do in our culture. This is how we've always done it. In fact, I read a Palestinian folklore book, and this is ancient folklore tales. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, those cycle breakers, those of us that are trying to break these cycles, you're breaking cycles that were from, we are one of the oldest uh, cultures in the world, and so we're breaking against all of that. So if you're a cycle breaker and you're feeling alone because you're saying, I don't want to see the dysfunction anymore, I don't want the trauma responses, I want us to communicate and build, and yet you may get a lot of pushback, and with that pushback comes a lot of loneliness, a lot of isolation. So being a cycle breaker often challenges deeply ingrained beliefs, roles, right? And mechanisms in which our culture, survival mechanisms in which our culture operates. So you want to confront pain. You're in pain. You want to confront it. You want to say to your family, I want us to talk about this. I want us to be able to be better. Now, what does that mean? Be better around shutting down our emotions. You may want to stop over apologizing to keep the peace, because that peace you're trying to keep with others creates a war within you. And maybe you're tired of that. You may be the cycle breaker because you're saying, I don't want to suppress my needs anymore. I keep giving because, and the moment, because you suppress your needs out of that fear of being too much. And and I say this because I work with so many Arab that even if we ask for kasa maya, right? A glass of water, we're like, oh, I don't want to be too much. We are constantly small, look like this, keeping ourselves small. And so these survival habits of people pleasing and numbing our feelings through work, food, and substances and distractions, it reaches a point where it doesn't work for you anymore. Okay. So if you are a cycle breaker and if any of this means something to you, I want you to know you are not alone, that this community here is to remind you that you have people all around the world saying, we're in this together. We're in this in the same way. Now, what does the cycle breaker do? The cycle breaker, it is deep emotional work. It's not this surfacey TikTok, social media, you get 5 points for how to manage anxiety. That's all noise. To be a cycle breaker, you're willing to go into the deep emotional work because that work is painful. And that's what I tell people when you enter therapy or when you are trying to heal yourself, you have to face some really ugly truths about our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our community members, uh, uh, our religion, our government. We have to face all kinds of things that we may not want to look at. So when you begin this healing journey, your own personal healing journey, remember this legacy of awareness that you are seeking is for that light within you to emerge, because that light is tired of staying in a box. That we cannot keep people down. And that's what the younger generation is pulling on the older generation to say, we need to break through these cycles. And I am here for all of it. And I'm here as an elder to help support that and to create a community so that we can do this together. Mabat. Now, this also, when you're healing you're healing wounds that you didn't create. You didn't create this. And so you want to soften those parts of you, and especially for our Arab men, there's parts of you want to soften because you're tired of being hard in your feelings, hard in how you approach life. Okay. And so you want to also speak your truth. How many of you were silenced growing up? How many of you were abused and you had to? Because the moment you spoke up, what happened? You were punished more. The moment you talked about the creepy cousin or the uncle that molested you, if you dared talk about that, what happened? These are the deep emotional healing that we need to heal for ourselves. Because in order for us to progress as a culture and for us to move forward for the next generation and to be better, it will require us to look at and unearth all that stuff we have not talked about for multiple generations. Now, as a cycle breaker, and as you will know, it is not about perfection. It is about courage, because it takes courage to address these things. You may not recognize it as courage, and I'm here to tell you, it takes a lot of courage to be able to say, I want to feel things. I want to reimagine love. I want to reimagine understanding and compassion. And in order to do that, it's about planting seeds within yourself so that and fostering them so that they can grow. That little boy and that little girl within you is calling to you to heal it and to say, see me. You want your parents to see you. You need to see you first. You need to recognize that little boy, that little girl within you is hurting and it's in pain. And it experienced things it probably never should have experienced. Even when you came from a loving Hilu Arab family, and there's so many beautiful, examples of that. Some of the issues that come up, the comparisons to the cousins, you're choosing a career that didn't align with them. It's not even the big T's, the big traumas. A lot of it is the little T's that chip away at your light in who you are. So this is where today this loneliness, we're going to address it. We're going to choose healing over silence. It's time for all of you to raise your voices. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily outward. It could be a quiet revolution within you. I always say I was the trailblazer. I blasted my way through the culture back then, and it was not pretty. And it was ugly. And I fought and I screamed and I punched walls and I kicked things. And I thought, oh gosh, if I had somebody guiding me to not do all that, and to have a gentler way in which you move, right? This is why I'm doing this, to let you know you don't have to be that thrasher, that there are other ways to bridge this autonomy and our culture. So one of the things I'll encourage you guys to do is to give me 1 second. One of the things I'm going to encourage you guys to do is start thinking about what is the healing that you need to do for you. What is the blueprint? Many of us don't have this blueprint. Like Mira said earlier, when we're developing the Arab therapist directory, this is new. We're building something new. We don't have a blueprint. There aren't examples. I didn't have any aunties as examples for me. I'm the examples to Binti and to my nephews and my nieces. So they have that, but you may not have anybody. And when you don't know what that map looks like, you have to create that blueprint for you. And that could be very isolating, very scary, terrifying in many ways to go, I don't even know how I forge this new path. All I know is I want this new path. And so, with that said, even when you're forging this new path, you may face vehement resistance. And I received so much backlash from my community, from certain family members, and they just trying to suppress you for even speaking on the obvious. That's how deep the denial goes in our culture. And so I'm saying all these things to you guys pretty directly and intensely, because when you are a cycle breaker and you want to break generational cycles, it is not for the weak. It is for the courageous. And you may be one person out of 100, 200 doing this for you and doing it for future generations with no support. But that's why you have support here, right? Your family members may misunderstand you. You will talk and they'll think you've got 7 eyeballs on your face. Like, they're not going to understand you not because they're just unable or unwilling to change. And so we're not going to fault our families for that. That's the bridge we're doing. We're going to try and work with them to the degree that we can. However, for you to take a step back and ask yourself how much, I can't force them to change. That's not going to happen. But you need to be the change. Now, this change comes with some sacrifice. Well, I don't like to use the word sacrifice. It comes with consequences. And only you can decide what consequences you're willing to risk to belong and to find autonomy. So it's both are hard. Which hard do you want to choose? And are there ways in your healing journey, as you think about this blueprint, to go, okay, and for many of us, right, for many of you, you live a double life. You're saying, this is okay, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm doing it. Yet at some point, you may be with a partner that doesn't want to live that double life anymore. You may be tired of hiding yourself and you want the fullness of your life. Well, the consequence may be separating from your family or leaving your community. And again, the pain that comes with that is this no one to guide or talk about how to navigate this beauty of belonging with the desire to be autonomous. And so I want you guys, I will recommend to you that you start to put in your mind that you are not abandoning your community, you're evolving it. You are not abandoning your community, you are evolving it. You're the one that's planting these new roots in old soil, so that what grows after you is stronger, freer, and still deeply Arab. And that's what I'm hoping all of us in here, nawar to nawar, that the light in each of us, that we can ignite within one another by supporting each other in our journeys, so that we can feel the grief, but not feel so alone.
Okay, may I stop you for a second?
Oh, goodness. Sorry, Mita. I'm over.
No.
Go ahead.
It's okay. We have a few questions.
Tell you.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's OS. It's maybe Awais. I'm not sure. It's on TikTok. He said, how can I transform pain to happiness?
So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to pin that.
Okay, so we have it's on IG. The username is I have too many questions. He said, I had to cut off my relationship with many relatives, but then I realized I lost community. I didn't know how to balance my well-being to heal, and I need support from my family.
That's right. And there's your birth family, and then there's your chosen family. So one of the things I'll share with you about that is you may have to create your chosen family. Yet that longing within you may want to go to your birth family, and that's where that grief will get evoked, because every time you go back, you're hoping for a different, that little boy, that little girl inside you is hoping for a different result. And that may never happen. And how do you find acceptance around that? And how do you create your own chosen family and find acceptance around that? And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard.
We have on Instagram saying it's difficult, especially with when cycle breakers are often considered whitewashed.
Yes. I don't mean to laugh. Yeah, because the Arab parent, they're going to blame the West. How many times do I have to hear that? In the Arab countries, you're more progressive than the ones hand for America. I can tell you that. Okay, just in this platform. So they're going to see it as a abyad thing, or a white thing, or whitewashed, or I don't know how many people call me Karen's hand. And so, which I don't even know what that means, but these are names to silence. These are names to these are manipulations to keep you in control. Oh, it's the American بسووا هيك. إحنا العرب. How many times? Oh, it was this morning. I was thinking as I was preparing for this live, I was thinking about this auntie. Oh my God, she hated me. She hated me. She would look at me up and down, and because I was just keeping it real. I was speaking the truth, and she would look me up and down. She goes, "مو إحنا العرب ما في عنا هيك." You know how Arab aunties can be so dramatic with the هيك. ما في عنا هيك. انت بتحكي اشياء بس الامريكان بسووا. And I would say, are you serious? What reality are you living in? وين انتي؟ شو يعني انت بتفكري Arab are human beings, and human beings have human experiences, and انت بتفكري that we're so good for abuse. ما في عنا abuse, ما في عنا substance abuse, there's no eating disorders, ما في عنا anxiety. شو يعني? What reality are you living in انتي? And I didn't say it quite like that, but I said, Auntie, like, you know, because I was still a timid Arabic girl, right? I would say, Auntie, no, la, you know, everybody has their experiences. But salkiyat bidi ullek, Auntie, if you're watching me, what reality are you living in? Tell me, Ulili, how are you helping luladik or luladik? You're not helping them by staying in denial, right? And so I got off topic, Mira, which happens because anytime I talk about my aunties, I get really heck. And I have some beautiful aunties, and then they're like this dichotomy. I've got some really amazing aunties, and then I got some, you're like, oh, you're the reason why I started this platform.
Our aide said, tell her.
Oh, I've told a lot of them. But again, nothing, they're not going to change. They don't change. لسه هالحكيت إذا بتشوفيها, she's perfect. If you saw her min barra, perfect min head to toe. She won't let you see her sweat. Yet you could see في عيونها, she's crumbling and dying inside. You can't help people like that. Let them, خليهم مبسوطين, leave them. But for you, that can create a loneliness, an isolation, an invalidation. you're seeing things, especially if you're a kid and you're seeing things so clearly, and everyone around you is saying, that's not the reality. That's not what happened. And you're a kid and you're looking around going, I see that. And then um, you're going to doubt yourself and you're going to isolate more. And then it's, how do you isolate? How did you isolate as a result of breaking the cycle or speaking on things?
We have a few people asking for the live to be saved. It is saved and it's going to be up on YouTube on the Wadah Wednesday playlist. And then we have a few questions that are about guilt. So you can go back and watch these lives. They were on YouTube, so you can also find them there. Yeah, and that's it. Anyone that has any questions, please put it in the comments and I'll make sure to highlight it so we can go through as many of the comments as we can.
Yeah. So some of the reasons for loneliness during healing is, excuse me, you are the first to break the silence. So that in and of it said is all the unstated rules to prevent honest communication about pain and dysfunction. You may be the first person to speak up about that, and that's betrayal of family loyalty. Excuse me, and it can trigger a lot of pushback. So somebody mentioned about guilt and parents putting that guilt on you. This is part of it, is they're going to say, you're not, is it in that you say things or you're calling us out, you're not being loyal, therefore you're not being a good son. And now we're going to push back on you and make you feel guilty for speaking your truth. So remember, it is a manipulative tactic to keep you in line, to keep you from going against the status quo, because our culture is intent on maintaining the status quo because that was part of their survival. And I understand that. And I think many of you understand that. That if we move out of the status quo, that somehow we're going to lose our culture. But what people in their limited mindsets and in their lack of consciousness or in their inability to expand their consciousness a little bit, it's recognizing that the more we can lean into that and breaking through some of these things that have not served our community, the younger generation is going to want to embrace the Arab culture even more. But right now, there's a lot of, they're saying, well, the Lulad, they don't want to be a part of the culture or they're away from it. I said, well, for good reason, because you're trying to put a new generation, a new level of consciousness, a new level of thinking into old systems. So all the parents out there, I know it's scary. Okay. I know how hard it is. I have a kid too. I get it. Yet you have to do your own emotional deep work in order to stay present so that when your kid is talking to you about, I know I'm going to trigger people, trigger warning. If your kid is talking to you about sex, if they're talking to you about who they love, if they want to talk to you about the boyfriend or the girlfriend, or give them the permission, because guess what? They're going to want to be around you. My teta once said, let's see if I could get this correct. She said, if you want people to love you and be around you, she goes, is it bethatiham on a short leash? They're going to want to run from you. She goes, but is it inti bethatiham on a long leash? They're going to want to play and run around you. And I always thought about that. And for Binti, I say, Habibti, ma fi indik leash, hurra, go, foot, go, be free. And I could tell you, she embraces the culture. She loves the culture. She's able to take the beauty of the culture. But you have to be that cycle breaker to do the deep emotional work. So when we're talking about stuff that you're like freaking out about, you could stay more present to them. So you were the first person to break the silence. Number two, like another piece, your family members may not understand your process. And that's okay. It doesn't make them bad. It just makes that they're so immersed in these old familiar patterns that they may criticize your efforts by being, you're too dramatic, you're ungrateful, you don't know what we've sacrificed for you, and that they may not comprehend the need for boundaries, open communication, or emotional regulation. Okay. So, which can reinforce your feeling of being misunderstood. And that reinforces that loneliness. That reinforces you feeling isolated and alone, because you're saying, I want us to interact better. Now, what are you asking? You're not asking for much. You're just saying, can we interact better? And they don't understand that. They don't have the tools for that. Now, the other reason why there's loneliness could also be the need. When you set boundaries, it does create some distance. And in some cases within our Arab families, it creates, they just cut you off altogether. Now, in my experience, they always come back, because the reality is they need you more than you need them. Many of you that are the cycle breakers, you are the ones who are doing everything for your families. You're the ones that are the people pleasers. You're giving, because that's who you are. That's part of one of the traits of a cycle breaker, is that you give. So when you create that boundary in protecting your emotional and your emotional well-being, that may involve limiting contact with toxic relatives. And I'm a firm believer in that. Do I think we may be cutting people off maybe too soon? A little bit with the younger generation. You're not giving people an opportunity. You're not building resilience within yourself. But yeah, your health comes number one, and physical distance may be the very thing. But now you're living in another country. You're living in another city. And that may exacerbate the loneliness, because now everybody that you know, your community, you may feel even double isolated, because now you're not relating to the community you're living in, even though you have the freedom. And so this is where it's so important to give yourself the space to grieve the family you wish you had. And I can tell you that grief, I've been doing this work for most of my life, that grief, I don't think it quite leaves you, because the healing allows you to see your family dynamics more clearly. But this grief process of wanting a loving, supportive family you craved but never had, this creates a deep, deep sense of loss and is quite painful. But it's also a normal part of releasing old expectations and creating your own sense of safety. And that's finding acceptance that this is who they are. And I look at and I say, this is what I can get from them, meaning whatever emotional, okay, this is, my mom is a wonderful cook. I get from her the deliciousness of our traditional dishes. And that's what she's capable of giving. Then that's beautiful. I'm going to embrace her for that. My father, that's a little bit more challenging. I could say what he gives is a richness of history, that he can share historical things about where we're from, and I can appreciate that. Okay. So remember, it's about saying, what gratitude can I have towards, and that sometimes can ease the loneliness. Now, the reality is, and I say this to all my clients and my family members, the more you grow and the more you heal, the more you are in the fullness of your light. Well, guess what? You're going to outgrow old relationships. It's like a disclaimer. If you do therapy, you might have to lose a lot of people in your life. You may have to, people are just going to start leaving your life, not because they're not good people, or they just are not growing with you. And you're not going to tolerate the things that you tolerated before. So remember, you're going to outgrow old relationships and change the way the relationships that no longer serve you. And that can create some pain and loneliness, to say, wow, I've had family members or friends that have been friends for 20 years. And then you're like, yeah, I'm growing and they're staying stuck. And in order for me to keep going, I can't stay in this dynamic, or you're limiting it significantly. And really, it's the courage to walk away from these relationships can be very lonely, but a necessary step for you to create the fullness of the life that you want. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of our community, myself included, like, please don't have me on the other side of this screen thinking I'm like, no, I'm right there with you with all of this. We have in breaking, being a cycle breaker, you may have a difficulty in trusting others, because now we have this core wound of relational trauma, which most of us have. And so if you have problems with dating, or if you have problems with developing close relationships as the cycle breaker, forming healthy and safe relationships may be very, very new. And so you have to offer yourself some grace around that you're, again, like us, creating this blueprint for Middle Eastern mental health. Like, we don't know where we're just kind of fumbling along and figuring out what works and getting community feedback. You yourself may also, how do you start to form relationships? And that may be something you start very small. And this can lead to avoiding intimacy, pushing people away, even when you long for connection, which in turn reinforces the loneliness. So I always let people from our community know, myself included, lean in a little bit. It's okay. Trust yourself enough that before you run, there are so many friends and people that love you and want you to be a part of their community. Yet you, because of this core wound, this relational trauma, you may have a significant distrust of others. And I say not just of others, but you're not trusting yourself. And so part of letting go of the loneliness, part of letting go of the isolation, is for you to go, okay, how do I build that trust within me? How do I build it? And it's slowly. And that's the deep emotional work I was talking about. Sometimes you have to really look at these core relational traumas. You're going to have to admit some things and accept some things that can be very difficult. All right. So somebody asked earlier. Oh, wait, is it time, Mita? Oh, yeah, it's time. Okay. Well, somebody asked earlier strategies to combat bringing the pain to healing. And that's what I'll talk about in a minute. But okay, Mita, what's going on?
We have a question from Smilebot. He said, do you think we can be cycle breakers even if we don't have kids?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Look, children, if you don't want to have kids, and we come from a culture that's like, they start to freak out. And I'm like, there are people that can use that creative energy. And I've seen power couples that have decided not to have children, and they are using all that energy to show the younger generation that we're an example, that you don't have to have kids and still live a fulfilled, wonderful life, no matter what everybody says. Okay. So I absolutely believe you do not need to have children to create whatever you want to create in this world. Okay.
Thank you so much for answering that. Dua on Instagram, she said, what about when you're going through your healing journey and distance yourself from your family, but then you get offended but they get offended that you're distancing yourself?
Tell you, they're going to get offended. They're going to get offended by your existence. They will be offended. You don't need to solve that. You don't need to feel guilty for that. You're not doing anything wrong. People are going to be offended by your healing journey. You're not there to people please. You're not there. You're only there to stand in your truth. And how they respond to that truth is a them problem. So they will figure it out. I promise you, they will figure it out. And if they don't, that's on them. And if you start to feel guilty, I have a whole series on guilt and shame on YouTube to remember you're not doing anything wrong. If you're distancing the when Inti, where are you? What are you doing? You don't look. The reality is, with a lot of our Arab families, you can talk to them every single day. You can be there every single day. And you miss one day, you're not even healing. You're just, I don't know, going to have lunch with a friend that you'll call your mom or dad and they go, oh, when inti, where are you? Min zaman ma shufnaki, we haven't seen you in a long time. And you're going to feel guilty. So my point is, they're going to feel what they're going to feel. They're going to say what they're going to say because that's what they're conditioned to saying. But how are you going to build that strength within you, that courage within you, not to get sucked into that? And so many of us, we get sucked into that time and time and time again. And that's okay. Just recognize, the coined phrases, you have the phrases your parents say that rope you in, make a list of them. Go, that's them roping me in. And I'm hoping that will help relieve some of that guilt that you may be feeling. Yeah, you can't worry about other people's feelings. I mean, if you're in your truth, why our culture is suffering so much in many ways is because we're so worried about what other people are feeling. We're so worried about how we're going to look. And it's like, can we stop that for a second and let people figure it out on their own?
Yeah. Okay, we have Al-Hajar Faisal and Qatar on Instagram. They're having a nice conversation in the comments, but
I love that.
Al-Hajar Faisal was telling you that she was thanking you because she feels very lonely and she just moved to London. I think this is what she meant. And so she's just saying thank you.
You're welcome, Habibti. And I know that loneliness, and I know it all too well. And so this is where some of the strategies to combat the loneliness, while the path is difficult, I can tell you, you can take intentional steps to find connection during your healing journey. And I am so hopeful. It's not even about hope. I know that when people do the work, that loneliness subsides. And you know what happens when you start to call your energy back to you and you start to do the healing work and the deep emotional work? Guess what? People start coming into your life that you could feel connected to. Because I could tell you, as a teenager, when I was so alone, living in the quiet revolution, outward revolution, I could tell you that now I have a community of Arab men, women who are so incredible. These are people I can go to. I have family members, cousins, my sister. I have people that I could go to and talk about these things, because in breaking the silence, I gave other people permission to talk about what was going on with them. And guess what? When we all stayed present to each other, there was no judgment, no self-righteousness, no pretending. We all let go of all these masks, the masks that we wear as Arab. We let them all go. Guess what? You are going to start calling into your life people that you can connect with, and they're very supportive, yet that takes time. And so one of the things I'll encourage everyone to do is seek professional help. Sometimes we are hyper independent as a culture. And I'll encourage you, if the loneliness is so deep where it's impacting your functioning and you're having a real hard time, seek professional help from a therapist that can provide a safe space to process all the inherited wounds and develop healthier coping and navigate these complex family dynamics you face. And that's why having a culturally humble therapist, now just because they're Arab doesn't mean they're culturally humble. You know what I mean? You want to vet the therapist, but it is important within our cultural context to find somebody that understands the family dynamics. Now, with that said, you can find a therapist who may not be from our culture, but can help you develop coping and navigating these things. So the bottom line is, find some help with somebody that you can really feel safe with and connected to. The next thing is connect with supportive people. Now, I talked about that. People will start to, but are you rejecting these people that are coming? So take a look at that for yourself. Take a look at your existing community and say, is there someone in my circle that I haven't reached out to, that I haven't talked to? And that you want to intentionally build relationships with friends and family members who understand your journey. Now, what I say by intentionality is a lot of times people are waiting for these people to come to them. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be important for you to reach out to people. Now, I know that could be profoundly vulnerable and hard, yet everyone's waiting for everybody to reach out and nobody does anything. And that's why we're more connected via the phones or via, internet, but we are disconnecting because we're not talking to each other anymore. So take a look at the people around you and say, gosh, would this person be cool to go hang out with for a little bit? And take the risk. And if they say no, okay, tell you. If they say no, you move on to the next person. But it's the act in which you are reaching out to possibly supportive people and sharing experiences with others, just as we're doing here on this live. It is amazing when you're breaking cycles, I'm breaking cycles, we're all breaking cycles. It's incredibly validating. All the support you guys are giving each other in the comments, the beautiful comments I see everyone sharing, that is what our world needs. The next thing I'll encourage you to do, and I will have a support group coming up. The last support group was, for me, an incredible experience. They were pioneers because I've been trying to get support groups for a long time. But you want to join a support group where there's a sense of connection and belonging, where you are introduced to people who have similar experiences, because many times you think you're alone. You think it's just you or your family. I was talking to my friend Tijan this morning, and I was saying, Tijan, when you were growing up, who did you talk to about all this stuff? She goes, Wala hada. She goes, I thought it was just me. And so by having a support group, you're going to know your situation is not so unique, that it's actually quite common. And this could be formal therapy groups, community groups focused on healing. Now, I have tried, and I'm still trying, and it's a battle I'm going to keep fighting, to create more community groups for healing. And it's been very hard. I'm not going to mince words around that. So I'm hoping we can change in that. But I will be having a support group in the next month. So we'll send information on that. The next thing to combat loneliness is you want to, engage in self-care practices. Now, I know self-care is totally played out, and it's just too much, but you want to take a look at what are the things that are exhausting you. Now, working or being with our Arab families, it could be completely exhausting and takes a physical toll on you, right? So it's about, before you engage in family dynamics, you want to prioritize your things that fill your cup, things that make you in your joy, whether it's mindfulness practices, journaling, creative outlets. You want to do all that stuff first before you go into these community or family environments, because when you're filled up on an emotional and physical level and you're feeling good and you go into the line of fire or the lion's den, you're already going to go, okay, I'm ready for this. But when you go in those environments and you're already completely depleted, oh my gosh, you're going to see fighting, arguing. There could be you in a corner just wanting to hide, and then they keep plummeting you and shaming you or whatever they're doing. You got to be really sure that you are shored up with your self-care practices, whatever that means to you, before as you embark on this healing journey and breaking generational trauma, so that you also can be aware of your own triggers. When you're going to be less likely to know your own triggers from a half empty cup. So I know when I go into a family environment and I'm full and I feel good and I'm ready to rock and roll, when energy is being thrown at me or whatever's comments or hey, beniku, whatever they're doing, I have a more of an awareness of that. And I said, well, there it is. Now I can lean into that and fight the way I did growing up and create problems. And then we just pretend nothing happened in the next family gathering. Or I can stand in my truth and say, oh, I see you. Okay. All right. And then you just smile and wave. Smile. Okay. Tell you. And that is very empowering. Now you may want to choose your battles on that, but the self-care practices won't, if you don't have them really shored up and really good, you're not going to be able to do that. The other thing is a huge one is self-compassion. Practice self-compassion. Forgiving yourself for not always getting it right. I know I have not gotten it right. And I have said and done things that were really disrespectful, awful. And it took me a long time to forgive myself for that. And I'm going to encourage you to forgive yourself for that. Healing is not a linear process. Healing is, you're going to have, you're going to, as you're working through this, again, there's no blueprint. You're creating the blueprint. You're going to fumble. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go backwards. But it's how quickly you recover, and you deserve the same kindness and grace you would offer a friend. And so I'm hoping that you can practice self-compassion, that we are not here for perfection, we're here for progress. And the last one I'm going to talk about is engage in creative and spiritual practices, whatever the God of your heart is, whatever creative practice it is. Even if you're atheist, we got you, right? One thing I'm really encouraging the young people to have us go back to is we come from a culture of beautiful storytelling and rituals and other practices. Our music, our making of our foods is not just making food. It's threading through an energy of belonging. And so this helps facilitate collective healing when we can share our stories, when we can honor our family's histories and saying, look at these histories of survival and how is that woven within us? For those of you that are artists and musicians and those that are in the creative arts, how do you incorporate? My cousin is a potter, and she's Toda Studios, if you guys want to check out her work. And she transformed all her generational trauma, her pain, everything into her pottery. Everything that's happening as Bint Falastiniya, all that, she channeled it into this beautiful pottery. And collectively, each one of us that have her pieces, we are drawing from that healing in that. So this is where for you, it's figuring out which traditions that call to you, that bring you back home, and what personal practices that can lead to a sense of meaning and connection. And that's all to combat this loneliness, is to find meaning and connection and community. And that's what we're here for. And I hope you find all these things on your path. Be gentle with yourself. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we have a few comments. We don't have a few, we have a lot of comments, but would you like me to share some?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we have Dua on Instagram. She said, thank you so much. Much needed. Thank you. S Soap on Instagram also said, support group is a great idea. So if you're interested, please DM us your email so that we can add you to our email list and send you the updates whenever we have them. Qatar said, I needed to hear this. Thank you. And then Yemen asked the question. Yemen on Instagram said, how to deal with loneliness when the people you feel lonely with is your direct family, parents, and siblings.
Yes. So the same practices I talked about is getting therapy, finding your own support, engaging in self-care practices. It's that little boy or that little girl inside you. You want them to be who you need them to be. And it's finding acceptance that that's who they are. And that's the painful process that we were talking about earlier in the live. It's very painful. So the only thing I would suggest to you is recognize that that's who they are. You were born into this family. I believe that we're born into our families to learn and to grow. And how can you learn and grow in spite of their inability to provide you what you need? And also, because I'm trying to build the gap, is recognizing, well, what can you be grateful for? And if there's nothing, maybe you're grateful that you're going to be getting out soon. You know, it's about being grateful that they're so nasty that you're going to take this huge step for yourself. There's always things you could be grateful for. Excuse me.
Yeah. Ellie on TikTok said, I'm interested as well. Where do I share my email? So you can share it with us in our DMs. You can just DM us your email and we're going to take it from there. We're going to send you all the details and the updates.
I love that support group. I can't wait to start it up again.
Yes.
The light bearers that started it all. If you guys are watching, you guys are amazing. I'm so grateful to you. I still think about each of you and grateful for that experience. You guys are an amazing group of individuals.
Yes. And we have also, I'm not sure about the name, but I think it's Unicrest. I'm not sure. She said, yes, I'd love also to be a part of the support group. So please DM us your email. And then we have a question on Instagram from Group Loki. He said, what if home doesn't feel home anymore and you feel like you don't belong anywhere? How can you sense that and feel it?
I think you answered your own question. Home is a belonging back to yourself. And that when you can go back to yourself and find that within you, you will feel at home anywhere. So you answered your own question. If you're in an environment where you're not feeling safe, because it belongs to safety. If you're not feeling safe, then and you're alone, you're answering your own question. But can you find your own home within you to get so good at accessing your light, get so good at knowing who you are, understanding your triggers, surrounding yourself with people that are going to uplift you and love you and care about you? What work are you doing for yourself so that when you're in that family environment, you're already home? That you can still be in this environment and belong, meaning community, you're there. And no matter how they act or who they are, you still belong to you. There's nothing more powerful than that. And then when you're done and you go, okay, I did the family gathering or I did the family holiday, you go, okay, that was quite unpleasant. But yet you didn't lose who you are. That's really the name of the game. You don't want to lose who you are. And many times we're lost in these environments, but we also have to do the work. And I highly recommend to anybody, if we could just stop with the quick sound bites of emotional health and wellness and really do a deep dive into who you are as a person. And because we have these cultural layers, you may have to unearth a lot of stuff to get to who you are. And it's a journey. It's worth it. Is it painful? Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to be in a fetal position in a corner of a room sometimes? Yeah. Yeah, you are. Yet when you can get on the other side of that, it gets easier and easier and easier. No matter what comes at you, your light will be so strong that no matter what darkness comes to you, your light will illuminate your path.
I love that.
Okay. So we need to end the live, everybody. Thank you for everyone who's joining. As we say, nawar titnawar, may the light in me see the light in you. Mira, thank you for everything you do for Community for International Arab. You are such a blessing to me and this community. Thank you to everyone that gave comments and participated and supported one another. This is what this community is all about. And I'll see you next Wednesday at Wadah Wednesday, 8 a.m. And we'll be talking about another topic that's real to our people. All right, you guys. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, no matter where you are in the world. Shine your light in love, compassion, and kindness.